Welcome to the Dad Nation podcast, where men go from good to great in their life and love. Now more than ever, our world needs strong, courageous, and compassionate men, because we believe that when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. Now, this movement is called Dad Nation, but ultimately this is for the wives, the children, and the generations to come, because we also believe that every wife and child deserves a father who is pursuing greatness. I am your host, Mitchell Osman, and I am so grateful and I'm humbled that you've chosen to spend your most precious resource, which is your time, with me today. Listen, today we've got another incredible episode for you, so let's get into it. All right. Welcome, Kevin, to the Dad Nation podcast. Just thankful to have you on the show, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, Mitch. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Well, just in case anybody who's listening may not know of who you are and what you do, I'll just read a little bit of your bio, and then we'll jump into a little bit of your story. So Kevin is a dad bod workout of the day. This is what his Instagram channel is called. He's a father of 3 little girls and the founder and the head coach of the Forging Elite Fathers program. Kevin has made it his mission to help busy dads go from dad bod to fit dad without sacrificing family time, while creating a legacy of health and fitness for their families and generations to come. He's been featured in the Wallstreet Journal, Reebok.com, The Morning Chalk Up, and many more. And if you, once you see Kevin, you'll see his page everywhere. I mean, he's all over my Instagram. Love his stuff. And I came across you, Kevin, you were just randomly posting workouts in the morning, which is obviously Dad Bod WOD, workout of the day, if you're not familiar with what that acronym means. But yeah, man, just adding tons and tons of value on the gram. And so that's how I found you, and just reached out and just asked Kevin just to see if he'd have a conversation about what he does and how he helps men, and maybe how, if you're listening today, you can get some help in your fitness and all that kind of stuff. So Kevin, thanks so much for joining us, as I said. But that's your bio. But would you mind just telling us a little bit about your story, man? What's the genesis story of what you do? Like, what made you get into this?
Right. So, again, thank you again so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And, I think far too many dads are out of shape and in poor health, not because they lack motivation or because they lack discipline, but because they just don't know how to get into great shape as a busy dad, right? And like what worked for you when you were 20 and single, the fasting or bodybuilding splits at the gym for 90 minutes a day, eating nothing but chicken and broccoli, right? Going to, getting 8 hours of sleep. That stuff worked when you were single and 20, but that no longer works for you as a busy dad. Again, there's nothing wrong with those methods. It's just they're incongruent with the lifestyle as a dad. And so, and also as busy dads, we tend to prioritize everybody but ourselves, right? Work, finances, community, faith, everything. And then the things that you love to do tend to fall by the wayside. So friends, sports, all that stuff. But then also the things that you need to do for yourself also tend to fall by the wayside, until suddenly you're 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier, wondering like, how the hell did I get here? And how the hell do I get out of here? And so guys inevitably end up trying what worked for them when they were 20 and single: the fasting, the bodybuilding splits, 90-minute gym sessions, chicken and broccoli, eating differently from their family. And then what they quickly realize is like, it doesn't work, right? Either like they don't have the time to spend 90 minutes a day at the gym, or their family wants to eat pasta and they're like, well, I got to eat chicken and rice, babe. And then that's causing arguments with their wife, or they're trying to fast, but their kids want to eat breakfast with them, but they don't eat breakfast. And then they quit after 2 or 3 days. And then they think, see, something's wrong with me. I lack motivation. I lack discipline. I just can't do this. And it's like, no, nothing could be further from the truth. You are definitely motivated. You are definitely disciplined in all areas of your life. You just don't know how to do it as a busy dad in your limited time, space, and like just your time constraints. And so I made it my mission to help guys get into amazing shape in as little as 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, again, without fasting, without cutting carbs, and without sacrificing family time. And it's so much easier than guys realize until we give them the blueprint, and then they're like, holy crap, this is actually way easier. So that's a little bit about like why I do what I do, and how I do what I do is actually funny, because when my first daughter was born, I was already kind of like getting into the fitness stuff. I always struggled with weight in elementary school and middle school. In high school, I fluctuated because of, girls, and I was like trying to get, but even when I was in the Army, I was probably like the least in shape guy of all the dudes in the army, right? And we're, in the army, everybody's in shape, and I was like in the least best shape. I was in decent shape, but still the least best. And when I got out of the army, I quickly gained 30 or 40 pounds because I was like eating and drinking like I was still active every day, but I no longer was, right? And so I started getting into fitness on my own, understanding like how this stuff works. And then we had our first kid, and I quickly realized, man, I don't have time to go to the gym anymore. And so I started doing just push-ups and squats in my living room while the baby napped or while my wife was nursing the baby. And that was like enough to sort of like scratch that itch and also keep things steady. I wasn't gaining weight, but I wasn't really like getting shredded, but it was enough. And then as she got a little older, I was able to get back into the gym and all that. But then we had baby number two. And with baby number two, time became even more limited. And I started walking the first baby because she would nap in her stroller. I would walk the first baby in the afternoons, and she would fall asleep in the stroller sometimes for like 2 hours. And I would get like bored. I'd listen to podcasts, audiobooks, all that stuff. And then one day I was pretty tired. I was like, you know what? Let me just do 10 burpees because I feel like I need a little energy boost. So she's napping in the stroller, and I knock out 10 burpees. And I get up and peek under the canopy. She's still asleep. So I do 10 more burpees. I peek under the canopy. She's still asleep. I do 10 more burpees. Finally, 100 burpees later, I'm drenched in sweat. And I was like, it was 10 minutes. And I was like, that was actually pretty awesome. I'll do it again tomorrow. And so every day I started taking her for a little walk. I would knock out a few burpees or little 10 minutes push-ups and squats. And I'm like, this is actually really, really cool. And it's really, really helpful. Let me start recording a few of these and posting them on my account. I think at the time it wasn't Dad Bod Bod. It was just like whatever account that I had. I just had an account on Instagram. And I just started posting these little daily workouts while my baby napped in the stroller. And my wife jokingly said, "Oh, that's funny. You should call it Dad Bod Bod." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty clever." But again, I was posting them not because I wanted to create anything, not because I wanted to sell anything, but because I just figured other guys need to see this. And so I started posting those every single day. And then when the pandemic happened and everything shut down, the rest is history. People started looking for at-home workouts and they found me. And then people eventually started asking for coaching. And so that's sort of like the long story of how we got here today.
Wow. Wow. I love that, man. I talk to guys often. I mean, I coach guys as well. And so I certainly know that tension that guys live in with all these sort of commitments. And yeah, man, I think the fitness industry is a tough place. And there's a lot of, there's a, as the saying goes, there's a million ways to skin a cat. You can get in shape so many different ways, and it can be paralyzing for a lot of men. It can be when you look at their favorite bodybuilder on Instagram or this and that, they often don't know the dedication, the details that go into that. And I'm not sure if it was you or somebody else, but they had posted basically just a comment saying like, "I'm done listening to fitness trainers who are under 20 with no kids who aren't married, because that's not a practical way of, that's not even healthy expectations to set for yourself as a man who's got a wife and kids." And so let's talk a little bit about some simple practices, some simple tips that you can give men, actually, you know what? Let's just back it up. Let's talk about some misconceptions maybe, or we can debunk some myths or that we see, because I see men, and I talk to men all the time who are paralyzed. It's paralysis by analysis. You know what I mean? Because they see all these different things. Like, should I do keto? Should I do, intermittent fasting? Should I eat the chicken and broccoli? Should I, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. There's so many things, and they fall for so many, supplements, and they get, what I say is they major on the minors instead of majoring on the majors, which is actually just getting out there, getting a sweat on, and all those things. So let's debunk maybe some misconceptions out there that men kind of believe, or that you see in the fitness world, especially on Instagram. Are there anything that comes to your mind right away?
Yeah. Right away, there are three common misconceptions that come to mind that keeps dads stuck and unable to ditch the dad bod. And it's really simple. It's one, they think it takes a really long time to get into great shape. So 60 to 90-minute workouts, right? 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Two, they think that in order to lose weight, your diet has to be rigid and boring. And then three, one of the biggest misconceptions is you think you do it alone, right? And so I can unpack those a little bit more, but like with getting into great shape takes a long time. It's like nothing could be further from the truth. Like all you need is 15 to 20 minutes a day, and you can get into amazing shape. Now, that doesn't mean just doing like 15 minutes of bicep curls, right? Like, yeah, you'll get a sick pump and you'll have like sick biceps. But what we're talking about is doing like full body workouts, high intensity interval training, right? This is, again, I'm not saying it's the only way to get into great shape. I'm sure Zumba works, CrossFit works, Peloton works, Orange Theory works. They all work, right? But if you're super busy with limited time, high intensity interval training, full body workouts are optimal for busy dads because you can knock out a sick workout in 15 to 20 minutes and get on with your day. So if you're unfamiliar with the full body hit workouts, we're talking like compound movements that, multi-joint compound movements, like think like squats, jump squats, burpees, like, right, that's like lower body. And then like upper body would be like push-ups, chest press, shoulder presses, thrusters, anything along those lines. So when you combine them and alternate them, there's something about doing high intensity interval training that keeps your heart on this roller coaster, that you end up burning more calories throughout the day over a 24 or 36-hour period than if you just did a 30-minute run. So let's say you do a 30-minute run and your Apple Watch says you burn 300 calories, but you do a 20-minute hit workout and your Apple Watch says you only burn 200 calories. So you might be thinking, well, I'm burning more calories running. It's like, yes, you are burning more calories while you're running. But once you stop running, your body returns to homeostasis, fat burning stops, and that's it. Now with HIIT, you burn fewer calories during the actual workout because it's shorter, but your body stays in overdrive for the subsequent 24 to 36 hours and it ends up burning more calories throughout the day. So even if you just added 1 or 2 sprints to your day, that's better than doing a 15, 20-minute, just like a steady state run. So that's myth number one. You think getting into great shape takes a long time. And a quick example of a HIIT workout, if somebody's listening, you can go ahead and write this down, is do 10 rounds or 5 rounds, 5 to 10 rounds of 10 push-ups, followed by 10 squats, followed by 10 crunches or V-ups if you can. And that's it. Cycle through those. Do 10 push-ups, stand up, do 10 squats, lay down, do 10 crunches, then go back into the push-ups, back into the squats, back into the crunches, and do that for a total of 10 rounds. If you can't do 10 push-ups and you need to go to your knees, that's fine. If you can only do 5 push-ups, that's fine. If you can't do a full squat, sit down in a chair and stand up, sit down in a chair and stand up. The point is it's a full body workout. You're working the upper and your arms with the push-up, the lower with the squat, and then the core with the crunches. That's a full body HIIT workout. And I used to do that workout every day my wife nursed the baby. That would literally be that workout. And now my community does that workout every single Monday. We call it the 100s because you end up doing 100 reps of each of those movements. Does that resonate?
Oh yeah, man. I love that. Super practical. Yeah, no, that's so good. So
I could
go
jump
ahead.
into myth number 2 if you
Yeah,
like.
just do it. Yeah, hit us with it,
Okay,
man.
sweet.
Hey, friend, thank you so much for tuning into the Dad Nation podcast today. And because you're here, I want to give you a free gift for listening. And this is called Igniting Intimacy. 44 questions to ask your wife to connect deeply and spark intimacy. Maybe you're watching this and you just feel like conversation is just growing real boring in your marriage. Or maybe you've heard from your wife that she feels like she's married to a robot, or that we don't ever talk anymore, or you don't talk about how you feel. If you've heard any of these things from your wife or felt any of these things, you need to download this free gift for you, because listen, the key to connection with your wife is through quality conversation and quality questions. Okay, I promise this will not disappoint. So check out the show notes below on YouTube or whatever streaming platform you're listening on, or you could just head to dadnationcode.com/intimacy for that free gift for you, my friend. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
Now, myth number 2 is you think getting into great shape or in order to lose weight that your diet has to be like rigid and boring, right? And again, nothing could be further from the truth. It's that all or nothing mindset that actually ends up holding you back. So an analogy that I like to give often is, listener, how often do you brush your teeth? Immediately you have a number that pops in your head every day, every other day, twice a day, 3 times a day, right? Whatever your standard is, you have a standard. Now, does that mean you're batting 100? No, I'm sure you've been running late to work one morning. You're in the car and you're like, oh, dude, I totally forgot to brush my teeth, right? And you're like, damn it. You don't, after that, say, well, there goes my perfect streak. I guess I'm off brushing my teeth now. I guess I'll start again on Monday, or I'll start again next week, or I'll start again after the holidays, or I'll start again after the summer. No, instead, when you get home, you probably brush your teeth with even more gusto because you know you missed it, right? Yet when it comes to our fitness and nutrition, if I were to ask you, hey, how often do you work out or how often do you eat healthy? It's like, oh, I don't know, 2 days a week, 3 days, sometimes none, sometimes 4, sometimes I can do really well for 6 days, right? You don't have a minimum standard. And again, it's that all or nothing that I was saying. And so you think that your diet has to be rigid and boring. So you're eating chicken and rice and you're not eating bread and you're doing all this stuff. And then you're suddenly your kid has a birthday party and there's pizza and ice cream there. She wanted to eat cake. Your wife wanted to eat the pizza. You want to have a beer with your friends. And so you do. And then you go, there it goes, my perfect streak. I guess I'm off my diet. And since it's Friday, I might as well blow it for the rest of the day. And since it's the weekend, I might as well just eat whatever I want on Saturday. And so I guess I'll start again on Monday. And then Monday comes around, you feel like crap because of the way you treated yourself this week. And then you go, well, I guess I'll just eat the Chipotle again. I guess I'll just eat whatever. And then it just spirals out of control again for 3 to 6 months. And then you're 10 pounds heavier and you go, oh, I got to get into shape again. And then what do? You do what you did to lose the weight in the first place. You cut carbs again. You start restricting yourself again. You start putting yourself in that deficit again. And then you have a Snickers and you ruin it all again, right? And so instead, what guys need to do is eat a balance of proteins, fats, and carbs with every single meal, including snacks. There's nothing wrong with oatmeal, but oatmeal with a protein powder is better. Or some egg whites on the side is better. There's nothing wrong with pasta, but pasta with chicken is better. Okay. So eat a balance of proteins, fats, and carbs. A lot of guys think they're eating healthy and it's like, oh, I'm just eating oatmeal. It's like, that's fine. Just add some protein to it too, because you want to eat enough carbs to give you enough energy and to stabilize blood sugar, but you want to eat enough protein to minimize muscle loss when you're trying to lose weight, and you want to eat enough fat to keep your hormones in check, to keep everything like to keep yourself satiated, and that includes snacks. So for a snack, don't just eat an apple or a banana, but eat like a banana with some peanut butter and a protein shake. Don't just eat jerky, have some jerky and some nuts, or jerky and an apple or something like that, right? So eat a balance of proteins, fats, and carbs in the right portions for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that includes snacks. And you don't have to fast, and it doesn't matter what time you eat at night. It doesn't matter what time you eat in the morning, as long as you're eating a right balance of proteins, fats, and carbs that promotes fat loss, but doesn't promote and stabilizes muscle growth, but doesn't promote like fat gaining. Does that resonate?
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally. Balanced diet. So I was talking to a guy a little while ago, and he said, I mean, he's probably about 150 pounds overweight. And he had said to me, dude, like I barely eat. I only eat
Yeah.
one meal a day,
Hmm.
and then he said, I don't understand how I can't lose weight. And so I'm like, well, what are you eating? Number one, and you should probably eat far more than that in one day. Like instead of eating one meal that's like 4 or 5 thousand calories, maybe have 4 or 5, smaller meals kind of thing. Have you experienced that in your past as well with clients?
Yeah, I mean, I experienced it with myself. Like in high school, I thought to lose, like I said, remember in the beginning of the show, I said like I fluctuated in high school because I was interested in girls and all that. And so I went through like a phase where I would just eat a Caesar salad and a iced coffee with sugar and cream from Dunkin' Donuts. Like that was like my lunch, and I only ate that. And so I know what that's like, and it just comes from like complete ignorance. There's nothing like you think it's like, oh, the less I eat, the better it is for me, and it's just because nobody's just taught us how to actually what energy balance looks like in our bodies and how much, that it's actually a science. My wife and I were talking about it the other day. She's like, well, some people's bodies. I'm like, no people's bodies. Like there's a very few percentage of people that have thyroid issues or something where it's like they can't lose weight or they can't gain weight. Most people, if they just knew exactly, if they were honest with themselves about their total daily expenditure, right? If they're sedentary or super active, and if they actually just track their calories a little bit and just use any online calculator to give them like a rough idea of what their calorie intake should be, 2100 calories, 2700 calories, or even 1800 calories, and then just try to hit those numbers for a week or two straight, you would start to see the weight come off. And then you'd say, oh, well, this actually works. And again, this is not even eating a balanced proteins, fats, and carbs. If you just ate Twinkies every single day for every single meal at 1800 calories, you'd likely lose weight. You'd be hungry, but you would lose weight. If you ate Snickers, 2100 calories, if that was your goal, you would lose weight. So I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm just saying, like, if everybody was honest with themselves about their total daily energy expenditure and how many calories they actually ate, they would lose weight. So, to your point, most guys, if they're eating like one meal a day or something like that, chances are their metabolism is a little all over the place. and they need to get it back up by like eating a balance of proteins, fats, and carbs with every meal, smaller portions, just eating a little bit more to get their body into recognizing. Again, your body goes into starvation mode, so it doesn't know when it's going to get another meal. And so, like, if you're only eating once a day, your body was going to hold on to those calories, and you're not going to
Exactly.
burn fat.
Yeah. 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 It's so funny, dude. I was at one point in my life, I was about 50 pounds overweight. I mean, I struggled with emotional eating. I struggled with weight a lot of my life. And I did something similar, dude. I was working like 12-hour shifts. And I'll never forget, for dinner, I had this cabbage soup that I found. I literally Googled like weight loss soup, and it was like cabbage soup with a bunch of spices in it. And I get off of a 12-hour shift and run on the treadmill for like an hour, and I would be soaked. But that's what I had, man. I just lived on cabbage soup. It was ridiculous. I mean, when I look
I
back
know.
at what I know now, right? Now, did I lose weight? Yeah, for sure. But I was a walking zombie, and what happened was I lost the weight and I became so thin, and I had
Mhm.
no muscle at all, and it was not. Yes, did I lose weight? But was I healthy? Not at all. I was not healthy. I was constantly hungry. I was thin. I was insecure. I didn't know how to eat. But I think what you hit on a big point there, man. And I think the science is simple. It's just not always easy to execute, right? Like what we're saying here is calories in, calories out. The vast majority of the people far overestimate how much energy they burn, and they underestimate how much they consume. Right? I mean, I never forget the first time I measured out a tablespoon of peanut butter. I wanted
Yeah.
to quit everything. I was like, "This is how many calories are in one tablespoon of peanut butter."
I know.
But yeah, man, no. So I agree with you 100%, and it's so simple. I mean, if you just hit up, Google, like you said, free online calculator, boom, put in your activity, put in your age, weight, height, and then, like MyFitnessPal is a free app that's simple to use. And then you just
Mhm.
log your food. You could scan the food. It's real simple. And so, like you said, it's just burn more than you eat, right? Or eat less than you burn, however you want to phrase it.
Yeah, and
Um,
and 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 this brings us to the balance of proteins, fats, and carbs, though, because you mentioned you lost a lot of weight eating cabbage soup, and then you lost a lot of muscle mass, and this is why people end up yo-yo dieting. And if I could explain it really quickly before we talk about like myth number three, is people end up yo-yo dieting because they recognize they have a problem where they're overweight and they don't know how to lose the weight. So they Google something that says cut out all the carbs or cut out all this or cut out blah blah blah, right? So they end up going into an extreme calorie deficit and they don't do it the right way. And so what happens is they lose a lot of weight, but when they lose that weight, they're losing fat and muscle, which is what we're seeing with like Ozempic too, right? You're losing fat and muscle mass because your body is just burning whatever it can to support the calories that it needs. And because muscle is dense, it eats the muscle. So you lose a lot of weight and you lose a lot of muscle. And now, because you've lost a lot of muscle, your metabolism is just slower because it doesn't need to burn as many calories. And then your cravings start increasing. Your craving and your willpower starts to decrease. Your cravings start increasing, and then suddenly there's a bread basket in front of you. There's a basket of fries in front of you, or there's a work event where somebody brought donuts or cake or something, and then you start to just go nuts, and you eat it all. You eat the whole pie. You eat the whole pizza. You eat everything, right? And then because you can't stop for a few days or for a few weeks, even you just keep going and you just keep eating everything in sight. But now, because you have less muscle mass and your metabolism is slower, your body starts to store that fat and gain the weight faster because you don't have muscle mass to burn it. And then that goes on for 3 weeks, 6 months, a year. And then you're back at that starting weight again or heavier. And you go, man, I need to lose weight again. Oh, what worked the last time? When I cut out all that bread, when I cut out all those calories, when I only ate cabbage soup. And then you start that yo yo cycle all over again. And then you go into that calorie deficit, you lose all the weight, then you get the cravings, then you eat the food, then you gain the weight back, then you lose the weight. And it just starts all over and over again. And that's what ends up keeping people stuck in that yo yo cycle.
mm. Yeah, dude. Sounds like you're telling my story like 10 years ago, dude. It's exactly what I went through. All right, well, let's move on to number three.
Yeah. So this idea of like, again, this is a podcast for dads, right? Inadvertently, I know it's a podcast even for families and women, but like But as dads, the old trope for men is like, even if we're lost, we wouldn't ask for directions. Now everybody's got a GPS on their phone, so that trope doesn't work anymore, right? But like when you were growing up, when I was growing up, I remember like, like men don't even ask for directions if they're lost. Like that's not a man thing to do, right? We just don't admit when we need help. We don't admit when we're stuck. We don't admit when we've made a mistake. I mean, maybe a mistake, but like we don't admit that like we're struggling, right? And so guys have this lone wolf mentality and they think they can do it alone. And it's like, again, nothing could be further from the truth. I always say, and you've heard this 1,000 different places. And if you're a podcast listener, then I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 different ways too. But you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so if the people in your life don't share the same health and fitness goals with you, then chances are you're not going to achieve those health and fitness goals. And I say this with love and kindness. We're all on our own journey. I don't say this to demean your friends and family, but there's a good chance that fitness and health isn't their priority, right? If you start to like, hey, I want to watch what I eat, or hey, I want to drink a little less, your friends are going to give you crap. Like, what's the matter with you? Look, come on, just have a couple of beers with us, man. Even your parent, your in-laws, your wife, they're gonna like, what do you mean you don't want more? What do you mean? Come on, eat a little bit more. And again, not because they hate you, but because they love you and they just want you to like, be jolly and have fun. And so if you think you can do it alone, you can't, because again, there's a good chance that most people in your life don't have those same goals. So when you bring the little healthy salad to lunch and everybody starts giving you crap to just eat the pizza, you're going to give in and eat the pizza. When you think you're going to be good and only have one beer and your friends are like, come on, man, stop being a wuss. And you end up having 6 beers, right? Just eat, go to your in-laws house and they're like, come on, eat more. The food pushes in your life. They're going to make you eat more. And so that's why I always say you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. And there's a ton of research out there or studies that show like when given the same exact weight loss plan, people who do the weight loss plan by themselves compared to people who do the same exact weight loss plan in a group, the people in a group lose up to 8 pounds more than the people who do it alone.
Wow.
And then the people who do it alone gain half the weight back, where the people who did it in the group keep the weight off, because there's accountability. There's people to support you. There's people to answer your questions. There's people to keep you motivated. There's people to keep you to rebound when you're feeling discouraged, right? There's people that you're getting ideas from, like, man, I'm so sick of eating eggs. What do you eat for breakfast? Oh, that's a really good protein option. I didn't even think about that, right? Versus like when you're doing it alone, if you don't set any goals, you don't tell anybody. Like imagine you went on Facebook today and you said, hey guys, I'm running a marathon in November. People would be like, that's awesome, man. And then at the end of October, people ask you, how's that marathon training coming along? There's accountability there when you proclaim something out loud to the public in front of God and everybody else, right? Or if you kept that same goal to yourself, like I want to run a marathon, and then you fail, maybe you don't end up doing all the runs. You never told anybody. And so it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to actually run the marathon. Who cares? You quit on yourself all the time. Who cares, right? But when other people are sort of like depending on you to go accomplish that thing, you're more likely to finish it, right? So again, this myth that like you can do it alone, you're a lone wolf, nothing could be further from the truth. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people who want to see you succeed and who have a similar mission in their health and fitness. And this applies to all areas of your life. If you want to become more financially secure, surround yourself with people who share that goal. If you want to be more spiritually aligned, surround yourself with people who are more spiritually aligned. Like if you hang out with 5 smokers, you'll likely be the sixth. If you hang out with 5 people who complain about work, you'll likely be the sixth. If you hang out with 5 people who consume conspiracy theories and they think the government is out to get them, you'll likely be the sixth. Conversely, if you hang out with 5 people who are positive, you'll likely be the sixth. If you hang out with 5 people who want to go running, you'll likely be the sixth. Okay, so surround yourself with like-minded people and watch your goals and your achievements accelerate.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. A little bit about my story. When I decided that I was going to lose weight, one of the first things I did. There was a few other things going on. We were in debt. Our marriage was in a really rough spot. But what I started to do was change my inputs, and that was kind of what my thing was. If I want a different output, I need to change my input. And so I reached out to the fittest person I knew, and I said, so I didn't do Google search, because I knew that would lead me down a black hole again. And I just reached out to a couple of the most fit people I knew and said, hey, would you be willing to sit down and have coffee with me? Just talk to me a little bit about your experience. How did you get here? What did you do? How do you eat? How do you train? and just said, would you be willing to like mentor me a little bit? Like maybe just text me once a week or, whatever. And so these people surrounded me and held me accountable, gave me the teaching and the tools that I needed. And if it were not for those people, I would have never, like you said, if I didn't tell anybody and nobody held me to any kind of standard, I'd still be 60 pounds overweight. So I agree 100% with you, man. Thanks for all that. Love those three myths, and that's huge. And if people just took those three and pushed pause on the podcast and walked away and took those three seriously, their life would radically transform. I want to ask you a quick question. You said a word, and I'd love to unpack and to sort of pick your brain on what you think about it. You mentioned Ozempic. Now, this is all the rage, dude. I'm hearing this everywhere. What are your thoughts about this, and what is it? Can you inform us a little bit?
I'm not even sure exactly what it is. I think it's a drug, I think originally for diabetics. And what they found is that it actually promotes weight loss. And so then people who didn't have diabetes were taking it and seeing similar results. But again, the problem is, and there are some side effects. People have like severe cramping or bathroom issues, dryness, whatever. But I think the biggest thing that we're seeing, or not we, but that people have been talking about is like the muscle loss in that too. They're losing a lot of muscle, especially because some people are doing the Ozempic and not actually doing it with like a training program also.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you lose muscle mass that much and bone mass, you're just setting yourself up for a more difficult time as you get a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Osteoporosis, bone health, being able to get up from a chair and down, falling and breaking a hip, right? Like if you and I fall and down right now, our hips won't break. And hopefully when we're 80, if we keep training our legs and doing our squats and our lunges and our burpees, like we fall off a chair, we're not going to, first of all, we're not going to fall, right? Unless we slip on some ice or something, our bones won't be brittle and we won't break either. So I think the biggest thing is, ethically, is there anything wrong with Ozempic? I don't know. Because again, some people really, really struggle with this stuff. I'm sure some people wish that there was a drug that they could take to quit smoking, like a drug that they could take to quit drinking, a drug that they could take to stop looking at porn, right? Like if there was just a magic pill that kept this from happening. So I don't know. I can't say like people who do it are wrong, but I do think it is a shortcut in there. Like if people aren't doing it the right way with like a training program also and promoting muscle growth and eating enough protein, that they're going to set themselves up for like a more difficult time later on down the road.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think in a world of biohacking, everyone is looking for that hack. They're looking for what is that magic pill you said? And Ozempic, is perceived to be that magic pill. It's an appetite suppressant, right? And so when you take it, you lose some cravings. I believe it's just a combination of peptides, branched chain amino acids, the way it affects your body, and so you don't necessarily have an appetite. But the problem is you're not changing any behaviors. Your psychology around this isn't changing. Your habits aren't changing. You're just removing the temptation. So yeah, it could work, but what happens when you get off of it? Like even if you didn't have these side effects with the indigestion and so many other things that are coming with it, the muscle loss, what happens when you stop taking it? I mean, and one thing that I talk to a lot of clients about is we won't do anything that's not sustainable for the rest of your life because we're not doing this for 3 months. We're not doing this for 6 months. We're changing your behaviors. We're changing your life so that when I come and talk to you 30 years from now and you just turned 60 and you're blowing out your candles on your 60th birthday cake, that you are still a fit person. And so in order to do that, we have to change your psychology. We have to change your decision-making process. We have to give you better information so that you can make more informed decisions and do things that are sustainable. And I think what I love about your approach, Kevin, is that you are all about sustainability. This is something you can do for the rest of your life. If you have no kids and you're 19, or if you are 45 and you have 5 kids, this is something that you can do and sustain, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the goal isn't to, like, we talked about food earlier, like eat chicken and broccoli while your kids are eating meatloaf or pasta, right? Like should be able to eat the same food that your family eats and still hit your goals, right? And to anybody who doesn't agree with that or who doesn't think that that's true, I just want to encourage you to think about like, well, how many meals do you actually eat with your family, right? Chances are like out of the day, you eat 4 or 5 times and you only eat with your family once, right? Like for dinner time, usually. Breakfast is you're on the go, you're grabbing something quick. Your snacks throughout the day, they're on your own at work. Your lunch, it's either you pack something or you're buying something. And then dinner is with the family. So don't blame your family for the reason why you're eating pasta or bread. It's like control the other 4 meals out of the other 80% of your meals. And if those are, healthy meals, a balance of proteins, fats, and carbs, then you could eat, the lasagna at night and not feel guilty about it. You could eat the ice cream with your kids and not feel guilty about it. You could eat the pizza on Fridays out, right? And not feel bad about, if 80% of the rest of your week is pretty solid.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. So you would say, that Pareto's principle, 80/20 rule, that's something that you would go by, like eat clean 80% of the time, 20% of the time eat the fun stuff?
Yeah, unless you have like another kind of goal, like a very specific goal that you're working towards, and most guys don't, right? Like most guys don't need to track every single macro because most guys aren't going to be on the cover of Men's Health. Most guys aren't going to be in a scenario where they're taking off their shirt in front of strangers, right? Like most guys aren't going to be putting pictures of themselves topless on the internet, right? So most guys don't need to get to a place where they're 8% body fat year round. But if you want to look good in a t-shirt, fit back into those old clothes, and whether it's a medium shirt or a large shirt, 32 pants, 34 pants, tie your shoes comfortably, like, have broader shoulders and fuller arms to fill out those shirts. And that's your goal. 80/20 works really well. Now, if you want to get a little bit more dialed in because you have a summer vacation coming up, or you have, like a shirtless thing happening, right? Then yeah, then track your macros a little bit more diligently and aim for a little bit more like 90% adherence, right?
Hmm.
But I think most guys don't need to do that. The goal is to look good in a t-shirt, not this whole look good naked. Everybody look good naked, look good naked, look good naked. It's like, who's actually seeing you naked, dude? Like your wife. And chances are she's gonna, hook up with you anyway, right? Like, yeah, you want to look better, but it's not like this look good naked, look good. It's like, where is this coming from? Who's gonna see you naked? Nobody. Nobody sees you without your shirt except your wife and me and your kids, right? And so it's like your goal should be to look good in clothes. Look good, look, you fill out a shirt, have broader shoulders, fuller arms, a waist that doesn't protrude over you. You don't want to be pulling at your shirt when the wind blows against your belly, right? Because it's revealing the contours of your belly, that freaking, wind that betrays you. You want to have pants that fit, right? So like fit into a 32, 34, medium, large shirts. You're going to be super confident.
I agree 100%, man. Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. I see that everywhere. It's just like look good naked. I'm like, what? Really? Like, is that the new standard? I mean, who sets that? It's funny.
I mean, it's a cool like slogan. If you're single, like yeah, like if you're a 20-year-old single dude, it's like there's a good chance multiple people will see me naked, right? Like if I'm like hooking up with one chick this week and another chick the next weekend and another chick in another month from now, like over the course of the year, yes, several people will see me naked. But as a 30, 40-year-old man, like one person's going to see you naked consistently. That's it,
Yeah.
just one person.
Yeah, it's so funny. Let me unpack this. We've been using this terminology, track your calories. We've also been saying track your macros. For somebody who's listening, that may sound like the same thing. They may not even know the difference. So could you
Yeah.
walk us through what's the difference between tracking your calories and tracking your macros? What are macros and why are they important?
Yeah, tracking calories, tracking macros are kind of like synonymous. They're the same thing. Tracking calories, what I always say is your calorie goal will determine your weight, right? It'll determine your body weight. But your macro goal, your macronutrient goal will determine what your body looks like at that weight. So
Hmm.
again, I'm going to say it again. Your calorie goal will determine your body weight. Your macronutrient goal will determine what your body looks like at that weight. And then your micronutrient goal or your workout plan, whatever, will determine like how you feel like at that
Mm.
weight, right? So um again, calories in versus calories out. If I'm 185 pounds, I'm like light active activity during the day, like mostly in my car and in my office. I play with the kids a little bit. Let's say I need 2,000 calories to maintain like my body, just the way it is. And if I want to lose some weight, then I should be eating, 1,800 calories or, whatever. And so just so I'm burning more energy than I want to consume. Just think about like a financial budget. If anybody's like, if this is difficult to wrap your head around, you're like, man, I don't understand why we're always broke. I don't understand like where's our money going every month. I don't understand why we can't, make our payments. Like, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna keep wondering where your money's going? No. At some point, you're going to say, you know what, honey, we have to buckle down. We have to like look at our finances. Like we have to look at our bank statements and we have to set a little goal. Like how much money are we bringing in every month? Okay, you bring in 2,000, I bring in 3,000. So we have 5,000 cash on hand. How much is our mortgage? 1,000. How much are our other fixed expenses? 1,000. Okay. How much is, the kids' activities? Okay, another 1,000. Okay, so that means we should have $2,000 to do whatever we want. And okay, well, how many days a week are we going to Starbucks? How many days a week are we eating out? How many days a week are we going to the movies? It's like, holy crap, we're spending $3,000 extra a month. And we only have $2,000 to play with. So we're spending $6,000 a month with fixed costs and fun stuff, and we're only bringing in $5,000 a month. So now we're at a deficit, or now you're essentially gaining weight, right? You're eating more calories than you lose. So it's like, I know it's like slightly backwards, but it's like now you're in the red. Now it's what do? You go, okay, we can't do anything about our fixed costs, like our mortgage and kids' events and stuff like that. But all the little fun stuff like Starbucks and dining out and movies and subscriptions, we can start cutting some of that stuff, right? And then you track it for a week. You track it for 2 weeks. You encourage your wife, or you, babe, you sticking to the budget? Honey, you sticking to the budget? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then at the end of the month, you go, okay, how did we do this month? We brought in 5,000 and we only spent 4,900, netting us $100 in savings. Woohoo, we did it. And then you do it again the next month. And this time you have 200, 300, 500. Or maybe you get a side hustle and you learn how to make more money. And then now you're bringing in 6,000 a month and you're only spending 4,500 a month. Now you're saving $1,500 a month. And that's slowly how you get out of that, like that debt hole, right? That deficit, and you start to save. And now you're in a different, but you don't do that just by wondering, like, where's our money going? What, I don't understand. Where does money go? Where does the money go? You sit down and you actually open up your bank statements. You open up a little spreadsheet, you figure out how much money you bring in, and then you figure out where it's going. Same thing with calories. You don't just wonder, like, I guess I don't know how much to eat. Why am I gaining all this weight? You open up a calculator, you say, how much should a guy at my height, my weight, my age, my activity levels, how much should I be eating? And then you actually track for a week or two. How much do you eat? And then you realize, wow, I'm eating 3,000 calories every single day, and 500 of those calories just come from peanut butter alone. Huh. Interesting. So what can't I get rid of? Well, I still need to eat. So I still need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But do I need to eat 500 calories of peanut butter? No, maybe I can only eat 200 calories of peanut butter. And so you start making a few little decisions like that, just like you would with a financial budget. And then you could still eat peanut butter. You could still eat cookies. You could still eat ice cream. You could still eat pasta. You could still eat bread. You're just being mindful about how much of that stuff you're eating. And that's like a calorie overview, right? Like then you bring your calories down to 2,100. And now you're like eating 2,100 calories consistently, and you start to step on the scale and you actually see you're losing weight. You're losing a pound a week, and you're like, wow, I'm actually losing weight. This is awesome. That's just calorie goal. A macronutrient goal is the same thing, except you're being mindful of how much carbs you're eating, how much fat you're eating, and then how much protein you're eating within that. Again, most guys don't need to worry about that. I do think most guys need a protein goal at least. Like you should be eating, you should have a protein goal and aim for that. Eat protein with every meal. That's all I say. Just eat protein with every meal. But and you'll get close to that. But most people should be eating around, the simple thing that everyone says is like 1 gram of protein per body weight. Again, that's probably a little over people's heads right now. Just eat protein with every meal. Just eat protein with every meal. Just eat protein with every meal. But the calorie goal is really what matters for most people to get started.
Yeah.
That was like a helpful analogy.
Yeah, man. Well, it's so funny. I talk to a lot of guys in business and finances and stuff. And so I use that same analogy, man. I just say, you can look at your calories like currency. You got a certain amount of calories you can spend a day, right? Just as you have a certain amount of money you can spend a day, a week, a month, whatever. And so just as you track your revenue or your expenses at the end of Q1, Q2, Q3, you ought to track calories and how much you're burning versus how much you're eating and all those things. So yeah, I agree 100%. It's a great analogy because everyone knows what that feels like. So, and I would say, just to add to your point, basically macronutrients are like what calories are broken down into. Like every food that we eat is made up of these 3 macronutrients, right? And so it's like, calories you could look at it as the quantity, and the macros are the quality, right? The quality of the food. What are you eating of that amount? So no, that's really good, man. Super practical. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man.
Hey, we're going to get back to the episode, but while I have you here, I wanted to ask you, would you consider helping a brother who's struggling in his life right now? Maybe it's a guy searching the internet to help save his marriage, his health, or his family. Maybe it's a man that's just behind you on this journey. And we know, statistically speaking, there are thousands of men doing this, and we know that there are probably men in your social circles that are struggling with some of these very same things. If you'd be willing to help, this is how you can help, and I promise it'll take less than 60 seconds. If you've gotten any value from this podcast so far, would you be willing to give us an honest review and subscribe to our channel, whatever channel you're listening on? If you want to take this to the next level, would you consider sending this link to a friend of yours who you know would benefit from listening to this show? Now, why would you do that? Because the more men that hear this content, the more marriages we can save, the more fathers we can help step up, and the more lives that we can change forever. This isn't just for the men. This is for the wives, the children, and the generations to come. So I want to say thank you so much for doing your part to help other men find the support that they need. Now let's get back to it. Okay, so we'll wrap it up here in a couple minutes because I want to respect your time. But I do have a question for you. It's a personal question, and then I ask everybody on the show this one question. And it's because I'm a little bit like morbid. I think about my death sometimes and think about what would happen. Because what I found is that the more I think about my death, the more it informs how I ought to live. And so for you, man, as you think about, I want you to picture for a moment that you are, you just passed away, and that your family, basically your funeral just ended, and everyone just sort of leaves the memorial service, and your wife and your kids are sitting around the table, and they are reminiscing about Kevin, the dad he was, the husband he was. Okay, and you have the ability to be sort of like a fly on the wall, or you have this out-of-body experience, and you get the chance to hear the things that your children are saying about who you were and the dad you were and the life that you lived. And what are some of the things that you would want your kids to say about the man you were and the father you were while you were here?
As Bill Burr said, they would say, he paid his bills on time. You give that man a bill and he paid it. I'm just kidding. I would say what I really hope that my family remembers, my kids in particular remember, is you could literally have anything you want. You can create anything you want. You could, manifest anything you want if you think about it. And if it's what you really, really want, if you think about it, if you envision it, and if you set some goals and start working towards it, and drive towards that thing with with conviction, like this is absolutely what I want, and you just go for it, the doors will open and you will get it. And if you don't get it, then it wasn't meant for you. But there's a good chance that if it's on your heart, if it's on your mind, then it was meant for you. And you have to listen to those cues and just do it. I don't think anything is out of the realm of possibility. That doesn't mean that everybody should have everything, because it might not be like what is meant for you, right? Or that everybody should be able to, like, not everybody's going to be an astronaut. Not everybody's going to, be a doctor. Not everybody's going to be, a rock star on TV. But not everybody necessarily wants those things. So it's like, what is it that you really want to achieve? And if you could literally do it, there's nothing you can't do. That's so. If nothing else, I hope my kids really believe in the power of sort of like manifestation, believe in the power of like the law of attraction, believe in like the power of of prayer, right? Like, even God, like, ask and you shall receive. And so like that principle, like whether it's, you're praying to God or believing in like just the power of manifestation and the law of attraction, I think that's like 100% true. And I hope my kids believe that too.
Cool, man. I love asking that question because it's fun to hear what what people come up with and what's on their hearts, because it certainly reveals the heart of a father in many ways. So thanks for sharing, man. Last question for you. Last question for you is, where can we find you, man? Where can we? Do you have stuff that the guys who are listening, they may want to dig into your content or, work with you or whatever the case is. So tell us a little bit more where we can find you on the internet, man.
Yeah, so obviously on Instagram, you can go to Dad Bod WOD. Dad Bod WOD just means workout of the day. Dad Bod WOD or Dad Bod underscore WOD on Instagram. And if you want a free training on pretty much what we just talked about today with Mitch on like the 3 simple steps that busy dads use to ditch the dad bod sustainably without fasting, cutting carbs, or sacrificing family time, just go to forgingelitefathers.com. Just go to forgingelitefathers.com, and there you'll find a link to click on a link. Just send me your email so I know where to send it. And there's a free on-demand masterclass about 30 minutes long where I outline exactly the step-by-step process that dozens and dozens of dads have used to ditch the dad bod. So you can go there and check it out.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Well, you heard it, guys. Hit him up on Instagram. Give him a follow. I know I can personally say from experience, there's been times where I've been stuck for workouts. I just kind of get bored with my routine, and I see you hopping on and doing some jump squats or something with dumbbells, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool. I like that. And then so I've tried a bunch of yours just by following you on Instagram, man. So I appreciate that. Follow him. Check out his content. Awesome. This guy's been in the scene for a while. He's doing some incredible stuff. So, listen, Kevin, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I just appreciate your time. I love your mission, and honestly, dude, I wish you all the best moving forward. And all the success that you could imagine, brother. Wow, what an incredible episode. Listen, if you are watching on YouTube today, I want to hear from you, okay? Leave it in the comments below. What was the big takeaway for you? What was that big aha moment? And let's start the conversation. If you've listened to this episode and you've decided that you want help today, if you need coaching, if you need some resources, feel free to please reach out to me. My email is mitchell@dadnationco.com. My website is dadnationco.com. You can hit me up on Instagram @dadnationco. And I've got a ton of resources for you. I'm here to help you, support you in any way I can, and to serve you in a powerful way. So check those links. I'll have them posted below. But other than that, listen, I'm here for you. I'm in your corner. Have an incredible week. We'll catch up soon.